Imagine for a moment a piece of music where every single note is played at the exact same time, or a beautiful room, packed so tightly from floor to ceiling with priceless treasures that you cannot even open the door. If every space is filled, where does the breathing happen? Welcome to Mono Japan. Today we are exploring a concept known as Ma, the Japanese philosophy of empty space. Why did the masters of ancient Japan spend lifetimes perfecting the art of nothingness? Let us explore that mystery together. Look at your own hands. Look at the glowing screen illuminating your face right now. We live in a modern era that is absolutely terrified of the void. Information flows into our minds without rest, a river that never stops moving. Our calendars are solid walls of color, with no gaps left between the hours. When we wait in line for coffee, we instantly pull out a device to fill those 10 seconds of waiting. When we walk through a quiet forest, we put voices in our ears to drown out the silence of the trees. We have been taught that emptiness means we are wasting time. We believe that if a space is not filled, it is useless, barren, and lost. It is an exhausting way to live. Your mind is a cup that is constantly overflowing, and yet the modern world tells you to just keep pouring. Let us leave this noise behind. Let us go back to the 15th century. Let us walk up the worn, mossy stone steps to a quiet Zen temple hidden in the deep hills of Kyoto. It is early morning, and the cool autumn mist has not yet burned away from the black pine trees. Inside, a monk kneels on the woven straw of a tatami mat. He holds a bamboo brush, heavy with rich black ink. Before him lies a long scroll of pure white paper. He closes his eyes and breathes in. He lowers the brush. With 3 swift, deliberate strokes, he paints the jagged edge of a rocky cliff. With one more flick of his wrist, he paints a solitary twisted pine branch reaching out over the edge. And then he stops. He places the brush down. He is finished. More than 2/3 of the paper is completely blank. To a modern eye, conditioned to consume and to fill every corner, the painting looks incomplete. You might look at it and wonder why he did not paint the sky. Why did he not paint the rushing river far below, or the flock of birds in the distance? But the monk knows a profound secret. The unpainted paper is not empty. It is the heavy morning mist. It is the infinite, dizzying depth of the gorge below. It is the cold morning air brushing against your skin. By deliberately leaving the paper blank, the monk has invited your imagination to step inside the frame and finish the world. This is Ma. The Japanese kanji character for Ma is incredibly beautiful in its poetry. It is drawn with the symbol for a wooden gate or a pair of large doors. And right in the center, resting quietly in the gap between those doors, is the symbol for the sun. Ma is the sunlight pouring through the crack in the door. It is the space that allows light to enter the dark room. It is not a negative thing, and it is certainly not an absence. It is the very fabric that holds the world together. Consider the traditional Japanese tea room. When you kneel and crawl through the tiny sliding wooden door, what do you see? Nothing. There is no heavy furniture. There are no grand golden decorations on the walls. There are only bare tatami mats, paper screens diffusing the soft light, and perhaps a single scroll or a lone flower resting in the alcove. We might look at this austere room and call it empty, but the tea master looks at it and calls it full of Ma. If the room were cluttered with ornate tables and heavy chairs, there would be no room for the human spirit to expand. The physical emptiness creates a vast, quiet architecture for the soul. It is a space wiped completely clean of the loud, outside world. It becomes a sanctuary where 2 people can sit, drink a bowl of bitter green tea, and truly see one another without distraction. The emptiness is what makes the deep connection possible. You can see this same fierce devotion to nothingness in ikebana, the traditional Japanese art of flower arranging. In the West, we often measure the beauty of a floral bouquet by its sheer volume. We pack dozens of red roses tightly together, bursting with overwhelming color and scent. It is a loud, joyful shout of beauty, but an ikebana master will often use only 3 stems. Perhaps a single curved branch of winter willow, one tight camellia bud, just beginning to open, and a single blade of green grass. They will spend hours in silent meditation, gently bending and positioning these 3 fragile elements. Why go to all this trouble for so little? Because the master is not just arranging the physical flowers. The master is arranging the empty, invisible air between them. The negative space around the branch is what gives the branch its elegant, heartbreaking shape. Without the emptiness, the delicate line of the stem simply cannot be seen. Without the silence of the room, the flower cannot speak. This truth extends far beyond what we can see with our eyes. It exists in what we hear and in what we feel. Listen to the haunting sound of a traditional bamboo flute, the shakuhachi. Or imagine the heavy wooden strike of a massive temple bell at dusk. The monk pulls back the wooden beam and strikes the bronze bell once. A deep, rich resonance violently fills the evening air, vibrating in your chest. But the true art is not in the violent strike. The true art is in the long, slow, agonizing decay of the sound. The monk stands perfectly still and waits. The sound slowly fades into a hum, then into a whisper, and finally into total, absolute silence. The silence that follows the bell is not the same as the silence that existed before it. It is a thick, charged silence. It is Ma. The space between the musical notes is what actually creates the rhythm. Without the pause, the most beautiful music in the world is just a wall of noise. You can find this same profound pause on the wooden stage of traditional No theater. The actor, wearing an expressionless carved wooden mask, moves across the stage with agonizing slowness. Suddenly, he stops. He does not move a muscle. The musicians stop playing. The entire theater is plunged into a breathless, stretching silence. In the West, if an actor stops moving and speaking for 10 seconds, the audience assumes he has forgotten his lines. But in Japan, that frozen pause is not a mistake. It is called Seno no Ma. It is the heaviest, most intensely emotional part of the entire play. In that empty space, the unexpressed grief, anger, or love of the character fills the room like a rising flood. The emptiness speaks far louder than any dialogue ever could. How often do we forget this essential truth in our daily lives? Think about the conversations you have with your colleagues, your friends, or your family. We are so desperate to be heard, so eager to prove our intelligence, that we rush to fill every quiet moment. When a friend stops speaking, we instantly leap into the gap with our own words. An awkward silence is seen as a social failure, a void that must be plugged immediately. But in ancient Japan, the pause in a conversation is a sign of profound respect. It means, I am letting your words land in my heart. It means, I am turning your thought over in my mind before I dare to reply. The silence between two people is not a void. It is a bridge woven from mutual respect. There is a timeless piece of wisdom passed down through Zen philosophy that perfectly captures this paradox. We dig up clay from the earth, and we mold it into a beautiful bowl. But it is the empty space inside the bowl that makes it useful. We cut solid doors and large windows into the walls of a house, but it is the empty space of the open door that actually allows us to pass through. We work so hard with solid materials, but we rely entirely on the nothingness. You, my friend, are the bowl. You have built a beautiful, intricate, and demanding structure for your life. You have your career, your family, your daily obligations, and your long-term goals. You have built thick, sturdy clay walls. But if you fill every single inch of that bowl with tasks, worries, and endless digital noise, the bowl becomes entirely useless. It cannot hold anything new. It cannot hold a moment of sudden, unexpected joy. It cannot hold the peace of a quiet afternoon. It cannot hold a moment of simple, profound clarity. We must stop looking at empty time as wasted time. When you sit on a moving train and simply stare out the window at the passing trees, you are not doing nothing. You are actively cultivating Ma. When you sit at your kitchen table and drink your morning coffee in total silence, without looking at a screen or reading the grim news of the world, you are not falling behind. You are fiercely protecting the sanctuary of your own mind. You are deliberately creating the negative space that will give the rest of your busy day its shape, its focus, and its meaning. So how do we invite this beautiful emptiness back into our crowded, modern lives? It begins with very small, deliberate acts of subtraction. Look at the room you are sitting in right now. Find a table, a shelf, or a desk that is completely covered in objects, papers, and clutter. Clear just one corner of it. Remove every single item and leave that corner completely, beautifully bare. When your tired eyes pass over that empty corner tomorrow, your mind will subconsciously take a deep breath. That is the immediate healing power of physical Ma. Next, look at the rigid timeline of your day. We measure our modern worth by how much we can violently squeeze into every waking hour. But what if you designed your day the way a Japanese master gently arranges a single branch of willow? What if you intentionally scheduled 10 minutes of absolute, unapologetic nothingness between your major tasks? Not 10 minutes to quickly check your emails. Not 10 minutes to read a self-improvement book. 10 minutes to simply exist. To watch the tiny dust motes dance in a shaft of sunlight crossing your floor. To listen to the distant, rhythmic hum of traffic outside your window. To feel the heavy, grounding weight of your own body sitting in the chair. In those 10 quiet minutes, the frantic, terrifying momentum of the world is entirely paused. You step out of the rushing, violent river, and you stand safely on the quiet bank. There is also an emotional Ma, and it is perhaps the hardest one of all to master. When we experience a sudden heartbreak, a bitter failure, or a deep, crushing grief, our immediate instinct is to fill the painful void. We distract ourselves by going out. We throw ourselves into our work until we drop from exhaustion. We desperately try to patch the gaping hole in our lives with cheap materials. But the ancient philosophy of Ma whispers a much gentler, wiser path. Let the emptiness be there. Sit quietly with the void. It is terrifying at first, like standing at the very edge of a dark, bottomless canyon in the middle of the night. But if you are patient, and if you wait, you will slowly realize that the canyon is not empty at all. It is full of your own invisible healing. It is the necessary space where your next self is quietly gathering the strength to take form. Look at the winter forest. The trees are stripped of their leaves, and the branches look dead and broken against the grey sky. But deep beneath the frozen, empty soil, the seeds are gathering their vital energy in the dark. They require the cold, empty season of winter to prepare for the explosive growth of spring. You too require the quiet, empty seasons of life. Let us return, one last time, to the misty temple in the hills of Kyoto. The Zen monk has long since finished his ink painting. He carefully hangs the scroll on the wall of the wooden alcove. The vast expanse of blank white paper glows softly in the dim morning light. Centuries will pass. The monk will grow old, close his eyes, and eventually turn to dust. The wooden temple around the painting may burn to the ground in a war, only to be patiently rebuilt by the next generation. But the spirit of the painting will survive. And hundreds of years from now, a weary traveler from a loud, chaotic, and overwhelmed world will step into that room and stand before that scroll. Will deepen and slow. The tight, painful will deepen and slow. The tight, painful knot in their shoulders will drop. The beautiful emptiness that the monk left behind will reach out across the centuries and hold that modern traveler in a quiet, deeply comforting embrace. That is the true magic of nothingness. It is a profound sanctuary we leave for ourselves, and a gentle gift we leave for each other. We do not need more things, more information, or more noise to feel complete. We simply need more space to just be. If this quiet, empty room we have built together today has offered you a moment of rest from the raging storm outside, please draw your ripple in the sand called the comment section. Tell me what emptiness looks like in your life. And please, gently place the stone known as the subscribe button so that we may continue to build this quiet garden together. In a modern world that aggressively demands you be everything, everywhere, all at once, please give yourself the permission to be nothing, nowhere, for just a moment. This was Mono Japan.